Honestly, this Leland, I can't remember what his name is, Leland something, who hosts On Balance on NewsNation. This guy is just a typical Donald Trump MAGA hack. In this clip, we're going to see Leland try and corner a Dem strategist, Mike Nellis, and it completely backfires. Not only does it backfire, a lot of the panel then go on to agree with Mike Nellis, the Dem strategist's response. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, my commentary, and my perspective towards the end. And if you like the video, do me a favor, hype it up down below. Let's get into it.
It is now Michaels, host of the Keeping It Real podcast, NewsNation contributor Chris Cillizza, Mike Nellis, former senior advisor to the Kamala Harris campaign. Gents, you know the rules. Ladies first. Jillian, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and that White House 16 blocks down Pennsylvania Avenue. Have they done enough to explain to America, to convince America that in their mind, and I think there's a reasonable argument for this, that it's Democrats' fault everyone's waiting in lines?
I don't think so, personally. I would love to be tribal here, but I just don't think so. And whenever this stuff happens, I tend to believe that both sides are playing games. I'm under the impression that there was going to be a vote this weekend to fund TSA, or am I late to the game on this one?
There have been many votes. The Democrats will vote on their proposal, which Republicans won't vote for, and the Republicans will vote on their proposal, which the Democrats won't vote for. And we all wait in line.
I just blame both sides for this, personally. But
this is a good point to get to Cillizza on here. My reporting, now these are Republican sources, but they basically told me if it wasn't going to get solved today, it's not going to get solved for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about this. Is like, if you ask the average person, like, what does the Department of Homeland Security do? They'd be like, protect the homeland? Maybe. But this is a pain point, right? Austin, Atlanta, LaGuardia. It starts to impact, when it starts to impact regular non-hyper-political people is when I think something might get done. But, you know, the way the congressional schedule works, I mean, it has to reach a point where it gets too painful for them not to make concessions on both sides. I'm actually with Jillian. Democrats are blocking this. The reason they're doing it, I think, is because they figure, well, exactly what you said. Republicans control the White House, the House, and the Senate, so people are going to blame them.
Yeah, it's a great talk. Nellis, again, the Department of Homeland Security, we are in a war with Iran. The threat of Islamic terrorism has never been higher. The Iranians just issued a threat against America's tourist sites during spring break. If, God forbid, knock on wood, whatever you want to say, there is a terrorist attack at an airport or an attempt, I don't understand how that works out well for Democrats.
I don't think it's going to look good for anybody, again, to the point that Chris and Jillian have made. Both sides look silly here in any shutdown fight, but I don't think the Democrats should back down on their sincere desire to rein in ICE, which has gotten multiple people killed, has been kidnapping people, wearing masks, arresting people without a warrant. Like, those are sincere beliefs that the Democratic Party and the American people want.
I get that 6 weeks ago that argument really worked because ICE was in the news. It's not anymore. Doesn't that change the calculus?
No, I don't think so. I don't think the American people have forgotten that 2 people were killed in Minneapolis just 2 months ago.
Okay.
I will say, though, I do think that Ossoff ad is good. The ad against Ossoff. I mean, I actually do think, like, that's the kind of thing, you know, you talk in these vagaries and stuff, and I'm always like, people are not engaged at that level. But everybody has gotten to the airport and seen the people being like, are you in line? And it's like 1.5 miles long. So that experience it's not bad. Like, if you were trying to motivate movement, that's an ad that, if I'm John Ossoff, I'm like, I don't really love that.
Yeah, I had this plan that I was going to either myself go, but there's no lines here in D.C. because evidently the TSA workers in D.C. show up, or send out one of our reporters to go just ask people in line, who do you blame, who do you blame, who do you blame?
That's interesting.
But yeah, so Jillian, I'm going to switch here a little bit, but you're in Los Angeles and you have a unique view into the world of liberal intelligentsia and donors out there. It is about time for the midterms, which means that Democrats think they can win Texas once again. And there is a new poll out that James Tallarico leads both Cornyn and Paxton because, of course, the Republicans are in a runoff because they seem to be intent on committing political suicide in Texas. Don't understand why. Are you yet at parties where liberals and the Dems are salivating over Texas?
Me personally, I think it's possible. I think it's possible that Tallarico could take the seat. I personally am not a Tallarico fan, but he's hugely popular.
Was he-
All
Yeah.
of my friend, I hear Leland, I hear about him like I hear about Mamdani. So the reason that I'm saying this is because I would have told you there's no shot Mamdani would be mayor of New York, and he is in fact the mayor of New York. So I hate to tell you that I'm seeing tremendous parallels here.
Mike Nellis, you are a political consultant. You have been extraordinarily successful in getting candidates elected. Mr. Tallarico here was on the Bulwark podcast talking about whether God was binary or non-binary. Here he is.
First, how big is God's sausage, would you say? We know God is a man, and so I'm just wondering, like, how healthy his hog is.
Listen, I know that I was being provocative with that comment. While it's maybe provocative politically, I don't think it's controversial theologically. Most Christians believe that God is beyond gender.
Mike, would you have advised him to say that?
I don't think it matters. I think what's happening right now is Republicans see the same polling that I do that shows Texas is really competitive right now. So they want to be talking about trivia. They want to get into the culture war because they can't talk about affordability, housing, jobs, anything like that. So if they can get people to care about whether or not James Tallarico uses the right pronouns for God, they might have a chance to win. But I don't think it's going to work. This is the same problem Democrats had in 2024. They weren't laser focused on kitchen table issues that people cared about. Now Republicans are in that position because the economy is so much worse than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I do think Mike is right that if I was Tallarico and that question got asked, I'd be like, you know what? I want to talk about affordability and why gas prices are like that's a straight up winner. Like just like don't deviate from that. The more
Jillian,
the more you talk about cultural stuff, if you're a Democrat, the more.
Well, if you're a Democrat, and that's the question, Jillian, what
or
is
a
it
Republican
that people,
too? I think people are tired of the Republicans on the culture war stuff as well.
Jillian, though, I wonder, though, your friends who are captivated by Tallarico, is it just the idea that a Democrat can win in Texas?
Gosh, I honestly, he said some things to me. This is not one of them, by the way. I would tend to think that God doesn't necessarily have testicles or ovaries. This, to me, is not that controversial. But when you say, like, oh, there's 6 genders, and you start playing into all that stuff, it's like, for the love of God, can't we just focus on the bigger issues? Do we have to default to this kind of insanity? It's so divisive and it's such a distraction. But I think Leland, I don't know. I also don't know what people saw in Mamdani. So for me, it's more of the same. I would look for a Democrat that was a little bit more back to basics. As a former Democrat, that is what would appeal to me. Like, can't we get back to the basics and the core issues?
I'm going to give Mike the last word.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on that because, like, I hear that from Republicans all the time is that they don't understand the appeal of Mamdani, but Mamdani is appealing to a lot of people for the same reason Trump is. The system isn't working. It's not delivering direct solutions to their problems. So you throw culture war stuff at them, they bounce it right off and they go, hey, I'm going to help you buy a house. I'm going to help you retire with dignity. That's when the system is broken. They're going to turn to candidates they might not understand. And Mamdani's doing a pretty good job in New York City generally.
Well,
so did you guys see in the clip where he tried to corner him? He tried to play the clip of Tallarico and then ask Mike Nellis a question. This Leland Vittert, I believe his name is, he is someone who does that constantly. He'll try and put something out there and try and paint an individual to look bad. But you saw the rest of the panel. That's just not that big of a deal. It's not. And what Mike Nellis said when he came back was 100% on the money. And I loved his response. Listen, people don't care about that stuff anymore. People do not care about that stuff. And the reason why they don't care is because the situation is that bad right here at home that situations like that, whether someone thinks God is binary or non-binary, it's not even important. And the reality is this, Mike Nellis nailed it. This is what Republicans do because they have no plan. They have no strategy. They have concepts of a plan, but they have nothing. That's the reason as to why, if we take a look at the jobs report, it's absolutely shambolic in comparison to when Joe Biden was in office. That's the reason as to why the cost of living in the United States is blowing up and it is getting worse and worse and worse. Republicans aren't focused on those sort of things. But when Donald Trump has come into office, who are the people that have been looked after, that have been taken care of the most, more than anyone? The rich, the wealthy, Donald Trump's friends, Donald Trump's friends have been making some acquisitions that would blow people's minds. Why? Because of the fact that he's literally in office to do the best that it is that he can for those individuals. This so-called big beautiful bill that was meant to help so many Americans, it's put Americans in even worse situation. The tariffs, even worse situation. Donald Trump, the individual who ran on no new wars, has now started a new war, and that has driven up the costs for Americans. This is such a funny clip because Leland really tried to corner him. Mike Nellis really tried a gotcha, but it completely backfired. And even the rest of the panel, they jumped on board with the points that Mike Nellis was making because it's just simply that true what he was saying. It really was. This is just culture war BS, and it's not going to work. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this clip in the comment section below. Hype up the video, give the video a thumbs up, and hit subscribe if you're interested in my perspective as an outsider looking in on all things to do with American politics and everything that's going on in the States. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next clip.